So, hi everyone. Today we have Ayush Wadhwa, the founder of Owl Media, on our podcast. He has also been in the Forbes Asia 30 under 30 this year. So, welcome Ayush. It's a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much. Very, very good to be on this forum.
Okay, so Ayush, I was very interested when I got to know that I will be interviewing you because of one reason. So, I remember I was in second year at BITS and I was coming out of Shankar Gandhi mess. And on the wall of one of the walls, I saw a poster that said that there's some person called Sagar Verma whose video song was published at that time on Spotify. And below that, it was mentioned a film by Ayush Wadhwa. So it was the first time when I started researching about you, and I saw a few videos that you had posted on your channel, the Edinburgh blog. I think some videos were of you playing guitar as well. So I wanted to start with storytelling in general and in particular on social media. So please tell us how much of storytelling is art, how much of it is science, and does the platform on which the delivery is happening, how much of that is going to affect the way we tell our story?
Firstly, thanks for reminding me of a very, very beautiful time. This poster that you mentioned, basically we made that song. Sagar had written that song, composed that song, and I made that video. So we were so hell-bent on making sure as many Bitsians listen to that song, because very few Bitsians are in the field of content and art and media, right? And now I see more and more people coming out. But at that time, I remember we were just so hell-bent that we have to make sure, and we calculated the exact number of Bitsians that there are. And we're like, how can we make sure we reach each and every one of them? So we were very shameless in marketing, and we got a lot of random hate also, I remember. But so many Bitsians listened to that song, and it was incredibly fulfilling, and college was an amazing time. Coming to your question, right? Storytelling is mostly art. Getting distribution on that video, on the story that you have told, that has a lot of science. Because storytelling is, I could tell you a story right now, but it need not be shot in a particular way, edit in a particular way, but you might have a great time, right? So storytelling is very broad as a topic. It's not just social media storytelling. But when it comes to social media storytelling, when it is made to get reach and distribution, then yes, there is a science to it, and the distribution platform also matters. How I would tell, curate and distribute on YouTube is very different and on how I would do it on, let's say, on Instagram or, in the US on TikTok, because each platform rewards differently. The duration that each platform supports and the duration that works on each platform is very different. Like for example, on Instagram, if I upload a 10-minute video, Instagram, recently one of the senior folks at Instagram spoke about that Instagram will never support long form as well as, let's say, YouTube does. That's just not their core DNA. Whereas on YouTube, even a 2-hour long podcast will work. So if you had to upload this podcast and we are whatever telling stories or discussing educational information on YouTube, it may work very well, but it will not work on an Instagram. So there's a big difference. I feel storytelling is very broad as a topic, but the minute you want to get reach, science matters. There's a very simple formula that we use at Owl whenever we are making content for any brand, or even when I'm creating content for myself. I call this the 4E formula. When you're creating content for an audience, you have to also first be detached from the content, because most people fall in love with their content and they create content that nobody cares about. What that does is that does not get a lot of reach and distribution. If I were to just make a boring video of me driving around Bangalore, nobody would pay attention to it. So you need to set guardrails around what good content is. For me, it's a very, very simple 4E formula. This was told to me by somebody, so it's a borrowed learning that I have, but I've held on to it the minute I learned it. So it's, you make content that either educates the audience. So that's the first E. Second is either entertains the audience. That's the second E. Third is it excites the audience. And fourth, it engages with the audience. So education is this. We are trying to educate the audience on some matter or the other, potentially content creation. So the minute there is value exchange, they would want to listen to this video, right? Because they're getting something from that video. Second is entertainment, memes. look at your Netflix channel, look at a funny video on Instagram or YouTube, anywhere where there is some form of entertainment. So people are taking away laughter, taking away, like, they have a good time when they watch that video. Third is you excite. We love watching people's home tour because it excites us that, okay, I can also have that lifestyle. All kinds of aspirational videos would come and excite, right? And then lastly, you engage with the audience. You will see that Q&A sessions work well when a person comes in and talks to the audience, holds community meetups. So your content journey has to be around these four, right? The magic also happens when you combine these two things. So you educate and also entertain. So think a finance with Sharan, right? Trying to educate while entertaining, or even a Tanmay Bhatt who tried to do it with, let's say, his finance channel back in the day. So you can also mix and match things, which also makes the content very, very exciting. But every time you make any piece of content, you have to ask this question: is it fitting in any of these four categories? If not, I'm going to discard that piece of content, because otherwise it's just a piece of content that people will not care about, but only I care about, right? For example, if you run a educational page and randomly you upload a picture of yourself, or randomly a video of you doing random things which is not entertaining, does not educate the audience, that's not a good piece of content, right? However, there is a lot of luck that's also a part of the content journey. Every content creator has been lucky at some point, which allowed them to get that kind of distribution that they did.
Very interesting. But is there, like, going a layer deeper, is there a template as well that you try to follow? So for example, some people say that there should be a hook at the starting of a story, etc.
Yeah.
So is there a fixed template that you also follow, or do you think does that also depend on the TG you are targeting?
Hook matters because of how we are wired now. Because we are, I tell this to my team that the smartest person becomes dumb when they open Instagram, because their mind goes in their loop. Some people talk about, hey, I'm targeting a founder or this very senior person. But I'm like, no, the minute they come on Instagram, they are behaving like anyone else. They are just scrolling. So even if your content is really smart, you need to have a very strong statement in the first 4 to 5 seconds, because that is what will make them stop. So hook is really important. But content changes really fast. What I was discussing, let's say a year ago, is no longer the template today. So as I said, what you have to understand is, does it fit in the 4 E's? So if I've grabbed your attention with a hook, by the end of the video, am I delivering any value to you? Am I entertaining you? Am I exciting you? Am I making you feel better about yourself? Am I making you feel smarter about yourself? Smarter than you were maybe before watching that video, right? So that's my formula, which is, of course, there's a hook, then there is a body, then you lead to, as a call to action where you're probably asking them to engage with that piece of content so that, they share more, they comment more. But, I go back to the fundamentals, which is, am I educating? Am I exciting? Am I entertaining? Am I engaging with them? And it works out.
Got it. Very interesting. So Ayush, I also see two different kind of schools of thoughts, so to speak, or observations, categories these days. So on one side, people say that the attention span of audience is reducing, and that's why you should be creating more and more of shorts. But at the same time, we see a 3-hour long podcast by Nikhil Kamath also getting enough views and enough watch duration. And these seem very counterintuitive, at least apparently. So what do you make of it, and how a content creator or someone who is in the media industry interpret this two different kinds of behavior? Are these two different DGs who are watching shorts and who are watching long form of content, or are they same people but in different moods or at different time of the day? What do you make of it?
I don't think it's counterintuitive. I don't think it's counterintuitive at all. I'll tell you why. Because what we fail to recognize that content consumption at large is increasing at a very fast pace. So a lot more people are being added on social media every single day. India has a large population. Internet is not as expensive as it used to. So people are consuming content at a very, very fast pace. Second is, you're right. I may watch reels before sleeping at night because I just want to spend some time, or I may be commuting and I'm, in a cab just scrolling reels. Well, at the same time, I consume a podcast. Let's say when I come to work, in my car, it's a 35-40 minute commute and I'm driving. And a podcast can also be consumed without a video, which means I can shut my phone, keep it down and listen to information and feel smart, right? Because they're discussing potentially something good and I'm learning something about that industry or whatever. So it could be the same audience listening to and consuming both types of content. However, my deeper observation has been that the audience is slightly different in most cases. Most of the audience that's on short form is not consuming a very, very deep, long form, content. So there is a difference, right? There is an exclusive set of audience जो सिर्फ shorts देख रही है और जो मैं नहीं बोलूँगा सिर्फ लॉन्ग फॉर्म देख रही है बिकॉज लॉन्ग फॉर्म वाले भी शॉर्ट्स देखते हैं बट ये एक ऑडियंस थोड़ी सी अलग है. So content consumption is increasing and long form will always exist. There are always people who want to go in depth. People said that people will stop reading books when all the digital mediums will come, but that's not true. People still read books. They might read it on a Kindle, they might read it on their phone, but people still read books. I don't have a data or a statistic to support it, but I don't think there are enough people who are जो बहुत ही ऐसा हो गया कि book readers तो एकदम ही drop हो गया. I'll probably research about it when I go back home, but I still know so many people who read books, right? And you said Nikhil Kamath. I sometimes listen to all of his podcasts and fully, sometimes even the entire 3-hour version of it. Sir, I don't think कि shorts ही बनाओगे तो ही success मिलेगा. In fact, if you're a creator and if you're thinking of creating content, shorts is a very good starting mechanism. It's easier to create, cheaper to create, does not take a lot of time, money, attention, resources, and it's easier to get reach on a short form on short form content. But if you want to build depth with the audience, if you want to build a relationship with the audience, something that will allow you to scale in the future, then 100% you need to create long form content. यार आज भी मुझे ना मेरे शॉर्ट्स के लिए जो मैंने इतनी सारी बनाई लोग मुझे नहीं बोलते बट those very very few YouTube videos that I might have created which are 10-15 minutes long, somebody और मुश्किल से 5-6 हज़ार लोगों ने वो देखा होगा उसमें से एक इंसान आके बोलते यार that video that you created, right, that resonated a lot with me, right? So I feel you connect much better with the audience in long form. So as a content creator, while you can start with shorts, eventually come and create long form content because that's where the deeper relationship with the audience is built.
Very amazing. So just double clicking on your point of long form of content. So recently I was listening to one of your podcasts and you mentioned a very interesting point that content in any form provides you a way to govern the emotions of the viewer. So it's kind of a power, but like power is perhaps a negative word, but it's kind of, you can influence how the other person is feeling after watching your content. So my next question to you is, should one, if let's say somebody is in college or like in general, if someone wants to start making content, do you think just the fact that he enjoys putting creativity out should be enough for him or her to start, or should there be at least some other objective, so to speak? For example, monetizing it anyway or launching a product. Should there be any other objective while starting content creation on a social media platform? What do you think?
Ideally, if you can start just because you really want to create content, that's the most ideal way to start. But today people have realized the power of content. People have built businesses on top of content, right? And people are making an incredible amounts of money. So it's only natural that a lot of people will come with the objective of ki, I am creating content because I want to build a business eventually, because I want to sell something, because I want to create a brand, because I want to create, get more money from this. The only problem with that is, if you're doing this, please be ready for a burnout, because there does come a point in every content creator's life that this journey and then in this career burns you out and it becomes really, really tough. But if you loved this in the first place, A, the chances of burnout are lesser. B, even when you burn out, you bounce back stronger. So हाँ यार, थोड़ा सा tricky है. तो अगर तुम शुरू कर रहे हो because of an ulterior motive which is beyond the love of art, which is beyond the love of content creation, then brace yourself and just be ready for that burnout so that you are more conscious in how will you get out of it. So many people जोश जोश में शुरू तो कर देते हैं कि मैंने पैसा कमाने ये करना है, बट नहीं सस्टेन कर पाते. यू टॉक टू सो मेनी क्रिएटर्स एंड बी लाइक, यार मैं कंटेंट बहुत अच्छा बना सकता हूँ, बस कंसिस्टेंट नहीं हो पा रहा. दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम दैट is there in most creators, because it's not easy to be consistent. It's a very, very hard career the worst part is that a lot of people and very smart people would look at a creator and be like, अरे ये तो डांस कर रहा है यहाँ पे आके, ये तो रैंडम कुछ भी बोल रहा है, I have better knowledge than him, and this guy is making but 10 lakhs a month. So मैं भी काम करता हूँ, मैं भी अपनी जॉब वॉब छोड़ता हूँ, मैं भी ये कर लेता हूँ because I'm smarter than him. The problem here is this person who thinks they are smarter than the other content creator are comparing on wrong metrics. What are they smarter on? Probably they got more marks, probably they have a better job, but those are not the skills that are required in content creation. Content creation is not just exchange of information, it's also the way you exchange information. Your edit, the way you shoot, the way you present, the way you speak in front of the camera, your confidence, your charisma, so many things matter. And because of this, right, a lot of envy also starts to happen. I know so many Bitsins, really smart, doing incredible jobs, but some of the best jobs will pay you 2.5 lakhs a month, 3 lakhs a month maybe, right? In the starting, in the first 5-7 years of your career. And there's a kid who's making like 10x more of that. So there's so much jealousy and envy that comes. But what they fail to realize is that that kid is probably one of the, 10,000s or 1 lakh in a million kids,
correct,
right? So the chances of success of this kid was very low. But because आप तो उसी को देख रहे हो, तो आपको भी survivor bias हो गया कि यार इसने कर लिया तो मैं तो कर ही लूँगा. And that may be true. I'm not saying that that's not true, but you have to also realize the probability of success there, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think a lot of smart people fail to realize that content creation involves a lot more skills than what we have been taught in school, colleges. So judging just on the basis of you getting more marks, having a better job, having more intellect does not make you better at content creation than the other creator on the other side.
Totally makes sense, Ayush. So, when you were speaking about the burnout thing,
Yeah.
so because I am also very fortunate to have gotten the opportunity to speak to a lot of content creators. I also used to make content on YouTube once. And there is something which I heard in a podcast which is called the artist versus algorithm problem. Because if you really want to put some creative thing out as an artist, that may or may not resonate with the audience or the algorithm. And in that scenario, you gradually start to shift towards what your audience wants to see or what the algorithm is pushing. And that will eventually get you views. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but that may start diminishing the juice that you were getting because of the creative process. Because now you are not feeling very free to create what you want to do, but it's kind of, you have to create what the audience want to see. So has it happened in somewhere with you in your journey? Because you also started as in filmmaking.
It did actually. What I loved creating back in the day when I used to freelance, whenever I would take a trip or whenever I would do something, I would make a vlog and a nice storytelling video around it. And I loved telling very emotion-led videos which have a human story attached to it. So I would make videos on my friends, I would make videos on the people that I'm traveling with. But those types of videos, sadly, at that time were not working. Gladly, by the way, they're coming back now. Now people are watching those types of videos, but back, let's say 7-8 years ago when I was creating those videos, people were not consuming that type of content. So eventually I had to shift to different pieces of content, and it did not give me as much joy. Even today on Instagram, sometimes I create a piece of content which does not give me joy, but I know it's good for the reach. So it happens. It happens with everyone. It has happened with me, and I'm also guilty of doing this. However, the thing with me is that I'm lucky to have a business alongside content which has no correlation with my content. Owl runs independent of me getting reach or no reach. So let's say last 2 months I uploaded very few. हमारी बहुत crazy growth हुई अभी recently. We got like immediately like 100k plus followers in like 30 days. But then, even when we were having that growth, I was not feeling great. So I stopped, and then the last 2 months I've created very little content, but it's fine, But a content creator whose livelihood depends on this cannot just take this decision, okay, I'm going to stop now.
Makes sense.
Because that can have a lot of deteriorating, effects on their career. But I could. I tell a lot of content creators that try to have something on the side which is not related to your content. Especially in the early days when you have not become like really big, it will help you take your mind off of content. Otherwise, you'll continue to think about content, and that can be very tricky. You compare yourself a lot. You compare yourself with other creators. There are numbers. You're surrounded with numbers, and numbers are the easiest to compare. You know, see, we can go on and on about who is a better speaker, the two of us, right? Some people think you are, some people think I am. That's a subjective quality, right? There are so many subjective qualities around us, right? When things are subjective, you convince yourself, कि नहीं यार, I'm okay, you know. But when it's objective, you have 1,000 followers, I have 2,000. Right? So now, because there's so much objectivity on social, there are so many numbers, number of shares, number of sales, number of comments, number of likes, number of views, so many things. It's easy to compare, and that's why creators compare themselves every single day. I don't have Instagram, by the way. I'm not even, if you open my phone, you won't find Instagram.
Oh, interesting.
I don't keep Instagram. It's a terrible app. I hate social media. You know, as a human being, I do not like social media. But it's my job and I do it for clients. I know how to crack it. So what I realized the last 1 year is you can be very passionate about your work, but you can also not like a part of it.
Interesting.
What I don't like about Instagram is the fact that I also constantly was comparing myself. I go on a scrolling spree, so I don't keep it. But I'm updated with what's working. So I very strategically download it, use it for 20 minutes, use it so that I'm, well aware of what's working. I can suggest the right things to our clients. I can make the right kind of content myself. But I've not indulged in anything more than that. And if that means like literally staying away from the app, then be it.
Very interesting and very inspiring, especially coming from you who runs such a big media company. But how do you make sure that you are keeping yourself relevant with the current trends and all the latest things that are working on social media? Because you must be, get to know of these things for the client's benefit.
So now we have a large team. So the team also continues to tell me. The thing is, I don't need to now do everything. I still download Instagram. I use it. It's not like I don't use it. Of course, I almost upload almost every day, right? But I've delegated parts of it. For example, I don't upload my reel or upload my stories. I have somebody who helps me do that. Because otherwise you have the constant pressure ki nahi yaar, what if I want to upload a story? So I don't do that anymore. I click a picture, send it to some, my founder's office person on Instagram, on WhatsApp, and I ask him to upload. Sometimes. There are still days where I download Instagram and I go on a loop of scrolling and then I get to know that this trend is working or that trend is working. But for our clients, now we have a large team, right? So they continue to tell me, ye chal raha hai, wo chal raha hai. They are much smarter than me when it comes to social media. They're much more savvy than me when it comes to social media now sometimes. So,
sorry to interject you, but having said that, you have a team, but still, is there any fear, maybe a remote fear, that because this industry is changing so quickly, the team or the company might become irrelevant with some time?
You don't need more than 20 minutes of scrolling to know what's working. Why do I need to spend 2 hours on the platform? If you're smart, and I've been in this industry now for 13, 14 years, why do I need to... I don't need to go on a doom scroll. You follow the right people. You go to the intention. You go with the intention of learning. You don't need a lot of things. Wow. Plus, Ambuj, you have to realize that we're creating so much content ourselves. So we have access to so much first-party data. I'm creating 40, 50 videos a month. Maybe even more. I don't even have a... right? Imagine creating 600 videos. You yourself are such an integral part of social media that why do I need to scroll? You can consume news. I can very specifically scroll. I hang around with creators a lot. So the data that I have, like most of my closest friends are creators. Collectively, they have 20 million plus subscribers and followers.
Wow.
The learnings that they are giving me, is that's actual data. वो guesswork नहीं कर रहे. वो बता रहे हैं मुझे आयुष ये चल रहा है ये नहीं चल रहा. This is what's getting hate. This is what's getting love. This is what you need to do. This is what you shouldn't do. I don't need to scroll. That's an excuse. Just for the sake of FOMO, मैं अपना time क्यों waste कर रहा हूँ?
Yeah. Okay, Ayush. So one last question for this podcast. So many people want to start content creation today. Some people want to build a personal brand. Some people just want to, use content creation as a way of expressing their creativity or their opinion. But again, there are two different thoughts that I get to listen. One school of thought says that if you will see the top creators in India today, most of them are in the range of 1 to 10 million subscribers, whereas our total population is 1.5 billion. So there's a lot of scope, there's a lot of untapped market, and so new content creators should come because they have an opportunity. But at the same time, there's another school of thought that says that because content creation has become so easy, there is no entry barrier. The smartphone these days come with like great camera, mics, etc. So there's no entry barrier and there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of saturation. And people somewhere find themselves stuck that whether they should start, whether they should not start, whether they should even consider these things before starting. So what do you want to say to such people who want to start but are confused or are stuck between these two things?
I think there's a lot of scope for so much new content. I very, very strongly believe that you should create content. Today, I can think of 20 things that I want to watch, but there is not enough good content. I'll take an example. There is still not a really good channel in India which is at the level of, let's say, a Vox or a Cleo Abraham. Both of these channels are really, really big, or of Johnny Harris, who is creating content, very, very extremely high production, good content on science, technology, new things that are happening, which is, think Cold Fusion. I don't know if you guys know these channels. Why is there nobody breaking this down? And not like random knowledge. In India, there are a lot of channels which talk a lot about random things, not well researched. There is not. I would love to see a debate show. Why is there not a proper debate podcast? There is not a very good health podcast. There are maybe a couple of them, but I don't think there's somebody who's ruling the market. Health is so important. There's so much random information on health. You can go on, and this is just my preference. I'm sure there's somebody who thinks that ye wala content piece nahi hai. Second is, a lot of existing creators, what they fail to realize is that sometimes they are not able to resonate with the younger and the growing audience. So शायद वो जब cater करते थे 25 to 30, after 5 years, these people have become 30 to 35. So शायद they can still relate to them, but they may not be able to relate to the now 25 to 30 year olds. Right? So there's always scope for younger folks to come in. Lastly, there's always scope for you to be authentic. My story is always unique. You may be doing the same thing. You build the same company like ours, but your story will always be different. When you come in and when you share your authentic story, people love to listen to what is your story. So whatever content you're creating, you can always have a sense of authenticity in that. Whatever we are speaking, there's a saying that whatever you're talking about has already been spoken of before. You just weren't in the room to hear it, right? So you may be talking about the same things or similar things, but the way you talk about them can change. There are so many movies on friendships, but today if another movie comes, we go and watch it, right? So I think there will always be a dearth of content.
Very interesting. So if people could ask just one question to themselves before starting their content creation journey, what do you think that should be?
I think initially you shouldn't think so much. Initially you should just start and just try and be consistent and understand, is this the right career for you if you're looking at it as a career. If you're not looking at it as a career, then don't take any stress at all. Just create for the sake of creating in the beginning. Eventually you will have to find your unique voice. There has to be something, like MKBHD speaks about this a lot, that he's also creating tech videos just like any other person on the internet. Anyone can create tech videos, but how he likes to differentiate is with slightly deeper research, is with a really crisp script, but more than anything, a stellar video production and, like a very, very good video quality. That's why he continues to invest in, let's say, like a robotic arm to shoot and take certain shots. So the idea should be, what is your unique voice? And it takes time. You don't find it on day zero. It takes time to find that voice. What is it that truly differentiates you? So once you do that, it's, you learn then. After that, the audience tells you what do they want to listen to.
Amazing. Very insightful, Ayush. Thank you so much for giving your time to us. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much, Ambuj. Thank you.